This bait right here is kind of a cross between finesse and swim baiting and glide baiting, just kind of meet at a cross point, and that's what this bait is. They call it a twitch bait in Japan. To me, I would call it a very, very finesse swim bait. Very similar family, if you're looking for something to compare it to, is like the Seville Magic Swimmer back in the day. It was a herring bait, swim bait, hard bait, but this is much more finesse. I'm throwing it on a very light, this is a 7-foot medium light 1-power Kistler, 8-pound test line, and it's a slow sink bait. It's 95 millimeters long. For those of you that don't know, I mean, that's like
95 millimeters.
Yeah, that's how they measure things in Japan. It's like by millimeters, not inches or things like that. So I believe that's right.
Yeah,
95 millimeters.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly, but I mean, we're looking at 2.5, 2.8 inches long. As I look at applications for this bait, especially in the fall time, right now, you've got a lot of fish that are feeding on incredibly small shad. They're schooling. They're very difficult to catch. I mean, you can throw a spook over there time and time again and maybe get one to miss it. But matching the hatch in that scenario is the only way to get a bite. I look at all the different techniques that I've tried over the years, some different homemade flies, micro swim baits on a jig head, and those have all been good and they've had their times to get bites. But castability becomes an issue, and hookup ratio becomes an issue. But with this thing right here, the lifelike action of it is unlike any small minnow imitating lure that I've ever seen. It has an incredibly tight swim. As you pause it, it basically suspends. It's a slow sink bait, but it's going to suspend yay far under the surface. You can burn it. It never blows out. And this thing right here is going to be absolutely deadly when fish are schooling on small bait or on incredibly clear bodies of water, where matching the hatch is the key to success. And this is the Sepaku. We're showing the fish something different that other anglers aren't showing them. They might show them a small swim bait that has a boot tail action. At the end of the day, that's not super lifelike. A shad doesn't have a boot tail. They're very tight swimming, and having a lifelike bait, especially something this finesse, could be something that's going to put that extra fish in your boat to help you win your high school, club, college, professional tournament. And really, it's a tool that has been missing from my toolbox, and I'm looking forward to the right situation. And this bait is going to be very situational. I look at scenarios that I wouldn't want to throw this bait in. Anywhere they're feeding on larger bait, obviously if they're feeding on big bait, I want to throw something that is going to match that size profile. And also, if they'll eat a chatterbait, you can throw it a lot further. You can throw it on heavier line. Your hookup ratio is going to be better. Another thing, this is going to be a clear water tactic for the most part. It doesn't have to be Bahamas clear, but I'm not going to be throwing this in Red River mud. I'm not going to be throwing this in Lake Eufaula mud. So just a few things to note. It's not the magic bait that's going to work everywhere, but in the situations where it's needed, this is going to be the best bait that I've got in my tackle box. And on the topic of swim baits and JDM baits, I have another swim bait here that has been added into my arsenal. Now it's no giant glide bait, but it is unique. I talk about subtleties and just having something different. This right here is the Bellows Gill Swimmer. We've all seen the Bellows Shad, the Bellows Stick, the Bellows Gill, and this is a swim bait version of those lures. Still kind of keep that bluegill profile. Comes in a lot of different colors. This right here is electric shad. I'm trying to imitate a shad, but if I'm on Sam Rayburn around a bluegill beds, we've got some incredible bluegill colors as well. And I've talked about, while I've caught tons of fish on Kitech style, boot tail swim baits, having a bait with a ton of flash, body roll, it's one of those things that on an aggressive bass, that's good, but it's more made to catch fishermen, not fish. When you look at what a bait fish does, it's not this crazy wobbling, chattering type bait. And so this is going to be a bait that's going to be a lot more finessey, a lot more subtle. This tail kicks very well at incredibly slow speeds, but look at it. Look at how small that tail is compared to body size. I mean, that tail right there is smaller than a 2.8 Kitech, and it's a lot bigger body bait. So action to bait size ratio, you're going to get a lot less action. And it's not to say it doesn't have action, because this boot tail does swim and it does kick and it does move great at slow speeds. As I've gotten more in tune with the JDM market, the more I've started to learn so much of what they do is the subtleties, and less is more in a lot of cases. You know, you look at the amount of pressure that these fish are getting these days. Having a bait that has a little bit less action, a little bit more lifelike. So I don't want to say less action is a bad thing. Just a little bit more lifelike action can generate more bites. And additionally, it is a different profile from most swim baits. A lot of swim baits are long and slender. This one's what we would call a little chubbier, I guess. I don't know, but it's generated a lot of bites for me. It's been a great live scope bait. I've got it rigged weedless here with a little flashy swimmer. Was just at a tournament catching them in shallow hydrilla while they were schooling on small bait. Great little bait to generate some bites. And if you guys are looking for a different swim bait that nobody else is throwing, check out the Bellows Gill Swimmer. It's going to be linked below. So if you guys are looking for 2 unique swim bait that's going to separate yourself from the other anglers on the body of water you're fishing, make sure you check these out. We've got the Sepaku Swimmer and the GeeCrack Bellows Gill Swimmer. They're going to be linked below. TackleWarehouse.com has them. And if you guys want to see some other JDM tactics, techniques, or baits, let me know below and we'll talk about them.